I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. We are learning that disgraced federal judge, Judge Aileen Cannon, who Donald Trump appointed to the bench in 2020, who improperly assumed jurisdiction over the search warrant executed by the Department of Justice in August of 2022 at the Mar-a-Lago premises. That Judge Aileen Cannon, who was essentially reprimanded by the Court of Appeals in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which supervises the Florida federal courts, ruling that she should never have been interfering with the Department of Justice's ongoing criminal investigation of Donald Trump. Yes, that Judge Aileen Cannon has been randomly assigned in the criminal case brought by the Department of Justice and Special Counsel Jack Smith against Donald Trump in the Southern District of Florida. We have reviewed the unsealed indictment of the 38 charges brought against Donald Trump and one of his aides, Walt Nauta. These charges include obstruction of justice, conspiracy, willful retention of national defense information, which is an Espionage Act violation. And this case was filed in the Southern District of Florida. There are 15 active federal judges in the Southern District of Florida, and it had a 1 in 15 chance of being assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon, and it was assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon. That is a 6.67% chance that it would have went in front of Aileen Cannon, and that's who it was assigned. I want to explain how it got assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon, its implications, but most importantly, I am actually not worried that this case has been assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon. First and foremost, let me explain to you why I am not worried that this case has been assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon. So it's assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon for now. However, under 11th Circuit Court of Appeals precedent, which is binding on federal judges in the Southern District of Florida and all the federal courts in Florida, Judge Aileen Cannon should on her own recuse herself from this case, or upon a motion for recusal brought by the Department of Justice, she should recuse herself. If she does not voluntarily recuse herself, the Department of Justice can then appeal that to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they should then order that she be recused. There is a 11th Circuit case called U.S. versus Martin, which is the binding precedent here, which holds that where a judge has shown prior bias and where the judge has engaged in potential prior misconduct, and there is an appearance of impropriety, the judge should be removed from the case. And if they don't voluntarily recuse, the 11th Circuit can remove the judge. So I ultimately do think Judge Aileen Cannon will either recuse herself or be removed by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals under the U.S. versus Martin 11th Circuit precedent, because the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has already made a ruling where they removed Judge Aileen Cannon from assuming jurisdiction, extraordinary jurisdiction, which she didn't have. And in the order, they basically accused her of interfering improperly with the Department of Justice's criminal investigation into Donald Trump. So where there is an order essentially already reprimanding her, the remedy here would be recusal. And I think that is what the Department of Justice is going to pursue. And so I don't think she's going to be on this case for any significant period of time. However, if she is on the case for a significant period of time, if she is not recused, if for whatever reason the DOJ decides not to file a motion to recuse her, or she doesn't on her own sua sponte recuse herself, look, the allegations that are in this indictment are bulletproof, okay? Even the right-wing spin master lawyers who have been, saying, oh, the DOJ is weaponized, politicization this, politicization that, this is Merrick Garland on a witch hunt, and special counsel Jack Smith is overreaching. Okay, even people who have said that have looked at this indictment, this 38-count indictment, and have said, wow, this is very, very damaging. I mean, it has audio recordings, under oath testimony. It's got text messages of Donald Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, with others talking about moving the boxes. It's got photographs of the boxes being moved. It's got photographs of the boxes in bathrooms, inside showers, in auditoriums. It lays this out in a way that's unimpeachable. I think even if Judge Aileen Cannon is ultimately the judge that oversees this case, there isn't anything I think that she can do to try to kick it, to try to dismiss. I mean, she can try to do what she wants, but the 11th Circuit will never let her get away with it. And again, ultimately, her rulings, just like they were before, assuming she stays on the case, are appealable to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. They've previously issued an order reprimanding her. I think they would clearly do that again. So there is no way that I think Donald Trump can rely on her just to dismiss this case and the case goes away for him. It may cause additional delay in the case, which would be very frustrating for that to take place. But it's not like she's going to be able just to get rid of this case. So how did the case get assigned to her? Well, the case was filed in the Southern District of Florida. Why was it filed in the Southern District of Florida? That's where Mar-a-Lago is based. So the Southern District of Florida has jurisdiction over the criminal conduct that takes place at Mar-a-Lago from the unsealed indictment and the 38 charges. We know that a lot of the criminal conduct, the gravamen of the criminal conduct, all took place at Mar-a-Lago. So what Special Counsel Jack Smith, I think, was considering in the jurisdiction is that if he brought the case in Washington, D.C., using the jurisdictional hook that these records are national defense records, and as a result, that implicates jurisdiction in Washington, D.C., where the documents should have been. Donald Trump could challenge that and have a year-plus long appeal of trying to say, no, the case should be in the Southern District of Florida, and the venue should be moved, and then appeal that to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, try to appeal that to the United States Supreme Court, and then that could take a significant period of time. In Special Counsel Jack Smith's press conference that he gave on Friday, he talked about the importance of having a speedy trial, and part of that is making sure there's no kind of jurisdictional challenges that would be bogging down the case. Special Counsel Jack Smith's other criminal case against Donald Trump for the insurrection-related crimes, that would be in Washington, D.C., I think, if and when those charges are brought. But these were brought in the Southern District of Florida. Given that the charges relating to Donald Trump's theft of thousands of government records and obstruction of justice was brought in the Southern District of Florida, there are 15 active federal judges. It gets randomly assigned. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, there was a 1 in 15 chance it gets assigned to Judge Aileen Cannon. People have suggested, well, did it go to Judge Aileen Cannon because it was related to the other case where she lost jurisdiction and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals accused her of interfering with the DOJ's criminal investigation? No, it has nothing to do with her involvement in that case. It is a random assignment, and I know that is hard to believe and hard to fathom, like what are the chances of that happening, but the DOJ would be the ones, because they filed originally, who would, if they were going to be the ones to relate the case, they would file a notice of related case. And here, no way the DOJ would ever file a notice of related case to Judge Aileen Cannon. And two, no way they would ever file a notice of related case to a case that's not an active case. Judge Aileen Cannon was adjudicated by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to never have had jurisdiction in the first place. The other case that she asserted jurisdiction that didn't exist is a closed case. You can't relate this new case to a closed case where Judge Aileen Cannon never had jurisdiction in the first place. And I also think there is some silver lining here, because imagine if Judge Aileen Cannon never exposed who she was last summer, and then she was randomly assigned this case or some other Trump-related cases. Because she engaged in such flagrant legal violations back in August of 2022 through the several months that followed, and the 11th Circuit issued that order reprimanding her. She's been exposed, though, as kind of a Trump hack. Imagine if that experience never happened and now the case got assigned to her. The DOJ would never really have a basis to try to have her recused. She wouldn't be kind of put in a position where she should recuse herself, because just the fact that she was appointed by Donald Trump in 2020, while that should be enough to have her recuse herself, that in and of itself, one could argue, well, judges are appointed by different presidents and that's just part of the process. That doesn't necessarily make her biased. I would argue that it does create an appearance of impropriety. But to me, the fact that she was appointed by Trump and she engaged in all of this conduct that was kind of patently unlawful and demonstrating an appearance of bias is all the more reason why she should be recused, why the DOJ should try to recuse and remove her. But because she was exposed then, now that this case was assigned to her, the Department of Justice knows what it is dealing with. She's been exposed to the public. So I think actually, while it's not ideal to say the least that this case is assigned to her, the past experience provides a roadmap for the Department of Justice of how to deal with it. So again, I would let you know if I was truly worried that it's in front of Judge Aileen Cannon. I am not worried that it's in front of Judge Aileen Cannon. I think she'll get removed from the case, number one. And two, even if she isn't, the law is so clear here that even if she does not follow it, the 11th Circuit is going to follow it. And Donald Trump is not going to just like get off. This case is going to go before a jury, and a jury is going to be the group that has the final word on this matter. I say that with a great deal of confidence. So I hope that explains everything about Judge Aileen Cannon, how she was assigned it, what happens next. Again, I actually don't worry about this right now. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch and wherever you get audio podcasts. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. All right, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel and have a great day.
Lock him up! Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.MeidasTouch.com.